Hello, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Jim Rohrbal, my colleague Corey McCreary. We are in the controls group at GEA Heating and Refrigeration North America. We're here today to talk about the GEA Omni control panel and specifically about compressor control. First, we'd like to give you an overview of the panel itself. The GEA Omni panel is our current control product offering. It is included on compressor packages, chiller packages, and heat pumps. It also can be supplied as a retrofit for both GEA and non-GEA equipment. And now Corey is going to take us through the hardware.
So we have here one of our freshly made standard panels. We keep these shelved. In the case of emergencies or breakdowns, we can quickly get a panel out to you. This is going to be the standard enclosure size. We offer a variety of enclosure sizes, and this is our carbon steel enclosure material. We also provide fiberglass and stainless steel based on a variety of operating environments. On every enclosure, we're going to have a sealed USB port. This allows you to interface with the panel without ever needing to open or close the door. We also have our emergency stop button to seize all rotary equipment, the compressor and the oil pump. And finally, we have our true high-definition panel interface. This is completely touchscreen and even has zooming in and zooming out capabilities using 2 fingers. Now we're going to open up the panel door, take a look at the inside. And here's a look at the inside of the panel. On the back of the door we have a processor with a standard Ethernet connection. The interior layout is organized for bottom entry conduit wire, the termination of the field wiring. We have a separation of high voltages from our low voltages. Up here, we have our circuit breakers and our power supply to power various sensors in the panel screen. And here we have our modular input-output system. Now we will proceed to the compressor control interface. So now we will move into our demonstration for the operation of the Omni compressor control panel. This will be done remotely for ease of visibility. Anywhere that the mouse interfaces with the panel can simply be touched upon the panel itself. What we're looking at here is the main menu screen of the Omni panel under the Omni view. The layout of the Omni is divided into several menus. Here on the left, we have all our main menus that can be selected. These will be current no matter which page you are on. They're separated into the top portion, which is going to be our equipment, middle portion, which will be troubleshooting and maintenance, and the bottom portion, which will cover panel setup and configurations. The very bottom is the status bar. That'll show who is logged in or logged out. It'll also give you a brief overview of the equipment status. The very top menu shows pages based upon which menu you have selected. And the center field is going to be your interface based upon which menu you have selected. So now I'll move into the compressor menu itself. That can be done by either selecting the compressor tile here or the compressor menu button. So now we can see that our menu buttons and our status bar have stayed the same, but the center field and our pages up top have changed. This is going to be our main display for our compressor. We have it divided into control parameters, which can change the operating parameters of the compressor, operating data, which can be used to view any of the operating parameters of the compressor, and for a quick reference we have the compressor tile, which will change colors based on its status. Currently it is stopped in a dark green. When it is running or started, it'll be a light green, and when it is in a shutdown situation, it will be red. We can also see a lot of the same information from our classic screen, which shows you operating parameters in a gauge format.
We're going to continue looking at the status of the compressor. We're on the main status screen for the compressor. Keep in mind, if you're an operator and the compressor's running fine, you can just stay on this screen or the classic view screen. No need to go to any of the other screens. All the information you need, all the adjustability, will be right here on either one of those two screens. Digging a little deeper into this status here, we try to give you that at-a-glance view. When you come up to the panel, you're going to know what the compressor's doing, besides just hearing that sound from the compressor. If you're viewing it remotely, you would see that that compressor's running fine, or in this case, stopped and ready to start. There's no alarm, there's no shutdown condition. Just want to point out that this is a percentage view of the screw compressor's slide valve. This would be 100%, it would be fully white, and 0% would be completely black. That's different than the capacity percentage. Capacity percentage is the percentage of the machine's capacity, which is different than the slide valve percentage. They are related, but they are not the same. This is based on operating conditions, size of the compressor, and so forth. Moving down to the operating data section that Corey also talked about, these are the sensor readings, as he said, and also you could have in here the solenoid status of a high-level float switch, things like that are coming into the panel. There's a certain number of points shown here, but there are many, many more points, and you can edit which ones can be viewed. So you can go in here, select a few more points if you want, and click on the Save Changes. This section over here indicates what the connection is to the modular I/O system that we talked about earlier, and you can either hide that or show it. If it's hidden, then it won't show up on the main screen. Simplifies the screen a little bit, makes it a little bit easier to read. What I want to point out, in addition to the sensor readings, there are also points that have no connection to the I/O, and they are calculated or internally used points, but they're important to you. They may be important as you operate it. For instance, the oil differential. You may want to include that on that main screen. It's a calculation based on two other pressures that are read, and it's very important that there's enough oil differential, as you know, to keep that screw compressor running. So just pointing that out as an example. So if you're an operator, one of the things that you often have to do periodically through the day is walk out to the panel and take readings of the pressures and temperatures. So these could be just the list of those parameters that you need to see. Another thing you can do, though, is to get a quick snapshot of that is touch on this QR code button. It'll bring up a QR code which you can scan with a QR reader on your phone or tablet. And when you do that, it captures this data, this set of data and points. Now you can take that back to your desk and write it down or send it to someone. On this side are the control parameters, the adjustable points that are in the panel. As you can see here, there's only a few shown, but if we click on this and go to the advanced view, now there are many, many more. And I want you to notice that they are separated by topics or headings. These are for the oil pressure, oil filter pressure, oil temperature, and so forth. Clicking on any of the control parameters, like I just did there, will show a description, a min and max setting, an actual setting, what it's set to now, and in some cases there'll be a calculated value here. For instance, if it's an offset, it will calculate the actual point that will trip a warning or shutdown condition. Now you can see here, I am completely logged out. Everything Corey and I have been doing so far, we've been logged out of the panel. And this shows you that you can move around through the panel without hurting anything, even if you are not authorized to operate the compressor. clicking on here, it tells me it's an invalid permission to change this parameter. So right away you can tell there's nothing I can do to hurt it. What I'm going to do now is just log in to show you what the possibilities are then. So we've created a login for both Corey and I here. I'm clicking on myself here and I'm going to log in. On the Omni panel, you can have up to 25 users, individual users with their own unique login password. And each person is set up as either a service level, which has much capability, or an operator, which has limited capability. I'm set up as a service user or service level access. So I'm going to log in now. And that's a unique code that I set up and used for my login. Now you can see that it's changed and shows me as logged in. Now I am able to change some of these parameters, what I was not able to change when logged out. So it pops up a keypad, simply enter the new value, enter that, and it's changed. At this point, I'm going to turn it back over to Corey, and he'll log in and show you some additional things.
Okay, so now we'll log into my account, which is set up as an operator level. We can see the list of operating data has been tailored for my needs, which is why it's longer. But now we're going to focus on starting the compressor. This will be done in two ways. This can be manually initiated by selecting the start button, or it can be left in remote mode. In remote mode, an external signal will be sent to the Omni when it should start or stop the compressor. Currently, with remote selected, it is primed for that external option. So now we'll proceed with starting the compressor. As we can see, the tile has changed to green. Currently, the compressor is set into an automatic start-stop mode. This is noticed by the A on the start button and the parameters here on the right. Automatic start-stop is enabled or disabled at the service level. The parameters for automatic start are set at 21 psi, so currently the compressor will not start until the pressure is 21 psi or greater. Automatic stop works the same way, whereas if the pressure reaches 0 psi or less, the compressor will come to a stop. We can also see that here on the tile, stating the automatic start is at 21 psi, and down here on the status bar as well. So now we're going to show starting the compressor where the pressure is greater than 21 psi. We'll see that it quickly goes through the check for automatic start. Noticing that the pressure is greater than 21 psi, it'll begin the start automatically. Here we can see the countdown. And now we can see that the compressor is starting, and we can also check its status here on the status bar. And now we can hand it over to Jim, as he will cover some of the capacity control.
Okay, now we're going to go on and look at the capacity control that the Omni provides for the compressor. And we've already logged back in as me. I'm going to ask you to focus on the next set of buttons here at the bottom. Corey was talking about these. We're going to look at these. So these are the capacity control buttons. They appear here and also on the classic view. So either screen, again, an operator can stay on and work. What I want to show first is we're fully loaded right now. You can see that on this bar here. I'm going to manually unload the compressor. So we're going to just touch that button on the screen and just hold it, and you can see that it's unloading. If I let go of it, you see it goes automatically to hold. It doesn't go back to auto, it goes to hold because now it's holding at the slide valve percentage that you unloaded to. So that's about 77%. Again, it's different than the capacity of the machine. So we're at 77% and holding. Now let's just load it up a bit. You can just pulse it or load it. And again, every time you let go of one of these buttons, it'll go back to hold. Now we're holding at 82%. Now, one thing that you might not know about the panel is you can press and hold the hold button. And now it's possible to just select 0. And now you can walk away from the compressor panel and it will sit there and fully unload. You can do the same with any of those other percentages. And note that it says it's holding at 0%. Now that we've talked about the hold button and the load and unload buttons, let's talk about the auto button. In auto mode for capacity control, now you're giving the Omni the ability to fully control that slide valve. There are several parameters I want to point out. One of them is the set point, 10 psi, we're trying to control to. So the main thing the Omni's trying to do is get that compressor to drop this suction pressure down to 10 psi. Another parameter that's important on capacity control is the deadband. The deadband gives you a range above and below the set point. If the actual pressure is in that range, in that deadband, there will be no load or unload pulses initiated. So we're saying it's fine in that range of pressures. Another point is the proportional band. Now this is where the loading and unloading is done, and the word proportional indicates the type of control. The Omni is providing proportional control of the slide valve movement. The slide valve operation is controlled by the load and unload solenoids on the package, and the Omni will initiate load pulses to bring the pressure down and will initiate unload pulses to bring the pressure up. So the proportional part enters in when the farther the actual value is from the set point, the longer the pulses will be. In other words, the longer the pulse, the longer the solenoid is kept on, and the more it will load up the compressor. So the goal is, the farther it is from set point, wider pulses, load up more, bring that suction pressure down more quickly. And then as that pressure gets closer to the actual set point, it will be dropping down in this proportional band, which again is a band around above and below the set point. The closer it gets to the 10-pound set point, the shorter those pulses will be, so that it doesn't overshoot when it gets to the set point, gradually honing in on what the reading should be. The final capacity control button is external. When this button is selected and lit, now the Omni panel is in a mode where it will accept signals, either hardwired inputs or network commands that will load and unload the compressor slide valve. Let's talk a little bit more about the control parameters, and one of the things that I want to share with you is if you decide that you'd like to try to change some of the parameters to tweak the operation, the panel makes it easy to save the parameter settings as they are now. Before making changes, I want to show you how to save the operating parameters. So we're going to go to one of the bottom menu buttons that Corey talked about, an area that may seldom be used, but in this case we want to change some parameters and be able to go back to them. We're going to use the File Manager. And on the File Manager, we're going to stay on the Support Files tab. Over here under File Management, we're going to select Control Parameters. And now we can either back up to the Omni control panel itself, to its memory, indicated by the touchscreen. Or if you have a flash drive plugged into the USB port on the front of the door, then you could touch that. But it's very simple. If you want to try some changes, go in here, save your control parameters to the memory of the panel. This saves a copy, gives it the current date and time. In a real panel, this would be actually your contract number of that panel, and then again the date and the time. So we've saved a copy. Now we can go back to the compressor panel, change that band to what we wanted. Try it out. If you don't like it, go back to your File Manager. This is a simple example, but there might be various changes that you make. Now, if you want to go back to where you were, you just select the one that was saved and restore. Okay, I want to point out here that is not allowing me to restore that. Some of the changes you make may drastically affect the compressor. And I'm going to turn this back over to Corey, and he's going to show you how to stop the compressor.
So now I will be going through the stopping procedures. They're very similar to starting the compressor. We can stop the compressor in two ways. We can manually initiate a stop by pressing the stop button, or if we have it in remote mode, then an external signal will be sent to the Omni panel to control when the compressor stops. But for now, I'll be initiating a manual stop. Now we can see the status bar has changed to let us know the compressor is stopping. We can press the status bar to expand it and see that currently it is checking the slide valve position. The compressor will come to a complete stop once the slide position is below 5%. However, we can simply override this by pressing the stop button again. And now we can see the compressor is back to its dark green color, and it's stating that it is stopped on the tile along with the status bar. For this last portion, we're going to cover enunciations, mainly warnings and shutdowns. They appear at the bottom of the status bar. Here we have a new warning indicated by the flashing yellow. We can click on that to expand upon it and see what warning has occurred. Currently, we have a high oil filter differential, which is at 5 psi or higher. Right now we have a 5.3 psi. So we can acknowledge that. It'll stop blinking. Now if we replace the filter and it lowers the differential pressure, this warning will go away, which we will simulate now. Now that our oil pressure is below 5 psi, we no longer have a warning. However, if it reaches that range again, we'll have a flashing warning. Now if we hadn't changed the filter and it continued to accumulate debris, it could potentially reach a very high psi and cause a shutdown, which we'll simulate now. Now that we're above the 20-pound differential, the compressor has now gone into a shutdown mode. We can see the block has changed to red. We have the flashing red shutdown here, which we can click to show that we have a high oil filter differential. Now the compressor cannot be started until this has been cleared. So we will simply change the filter, clear the shutdown. The compressor has gone back to its dark green, and we'd be able to start the compressor again.
We hope that you found this video helpful. Make sure you check out our other videos on the GEA Omni panel. Thank you for watching and have a great day.